Hey everyone! Today, we have some amazing news about Mars. Scientists have just discovered a huge underground reservoir of liquid water on the red planet. This water is so massive that it could cover the whole planet with up to 1 to 2 kilometers, about a mile, of water. You might be wondering, where did all the water go? Well, Mars wasn't always the dry, dusty place we see today. A long time ago, it was warm and had a thicker atmosphere, which allowed liquid water to flow all over its surface. So, how do we know that water used to flow on Mars? Let me share 3 important pieces of evidence. First, we see a lot of valleys and channels on Mars that look just like river valleys on Earth. These channels show us that water once moved across the Martian surface, carving out the landscape just like rivers do here. The second clue is something called hydrated minerals. These are special minerals that only form when water is around, like clays and certain salts. Scientists found these minerals using special satellites and rovers, like the Curiosity rover. Finally, we have sedimentary rocks on Mars. These rocks were formed by water, just like many rocks on Earth. They have layers and markings that show water once flowed over them. But something big happened about 3 to 4 billion years ago. Mars went through some tough changes, starting with the loss of its magnetic field. This loss made it harder for Mars to keep its atmosphere and water, leading to the dry planet we see today. Oh, there you have it. Mars used to be a watery world, and now we know there's still water hidden underground. Who knows what other surprises Mars has in store for us? A long time ago, Mars had a magnetic field created by its hot, molten core. This magnetic field acted like a shield, protecting the Martian atmosphere from the solar wind. The solar wind is a constant stream of charged particles coming from the sun. But over time, Mars' core started to cool down. This made the magnetic field weaker and eventually led to its loss. Without the magnetic field, Mars' atmosphere became vulnerable to the solar wind. The solar wind gradually stripped away a lot of Mars' atmosphere, making it much thinner. As the atmosphere got thinner, it became harder for liquid water to stay on the surface. Water that was once there began to evaporate and drift off into space. With less atmosphere, Mars also lost its warmth. The temperature dropped a lot, and any remaining liquid water froze, turning into ice or permafrost beneath the surface. But here's the mystery: scientists thought there should still be a lot of water left on Mars, even after the loss. The frozen water at the polar ice caps wasn't enough to explain it all. So, where did the rest of the water go? To find out, NASA sent a special mission called InSight to Mars. This lander is different from others because it digs deeper into the planet. Its job is to study Mars inside, like its seismic activity and heat flow. InSight helps scientists learn more about what's beneath the surface and where the missing water might be hiding. Could this water support life on Mars? That's something we're still trying to figure out. So, Mars has a fascinating history with water, and we're just starting to uncover its secrets. NASA's InSight mission has been exploring Mars for 4 years. During this time, it detected more than 1,300 Mars quakes. These quakes can happen because of meteor impacts and volcanic activity. Just like on Earth, these events send out waves that scientists can study. But here's the surprising part. Among all the signals from these quakes, scientists found something amazing: a large amount of liquid water hidden deep beneath the surface of Mars. To find this water, scientists used a special method similar to what they use on Earth. On our planet, they study how seismic waves travel through different materials to learn about what's below the ground. They created a mathematical model, which is like a high-tech map. This map helped them understand that deep down, Mars has a layer of fractured igneous rock, basically, rock that formed from cooled lava. Igneous rocks are formed when molten rock cools down, either below the ground as magma or above as lava. When they cool, these rocks can crack and create spaces. And guess what? Water can fill these cracks. Even though igneous rocks aren't the best at holding water, they can still keep some under the right conditions. Finding this water is super important for understanding Mars better and even dreaming about future human exploration. So, there you have it. Scientists are using cool technology to uncover hidden water on Mars. First off, the water scientists found is buried really deep, between 11.5 and 20 kilometers, or about 7 to 13 miles below the surface. That's way too deep for astronauts to reach with our current technology. Even on Earth, drilling to those depths would be a huge challenge. So, while we know there's water, getting to it is a whole different story. Now, just because there's liquid water on Mars doesn't mean there's life there. But it does spark some exciting possibilities. The underground conditions could be similar to places on Earth where tiny life forms, like microbes, thrive, like in deep mines or on the ocean floor. If life ever existed on Mars, or if it still exists, it might be hiding in those deep, underground waters. Understanding the Martian water cycle helps scientists learn about Mars' climate and its chances of supporting life. Finding this big reservoir of water makes us think about the possibility of Mars being a future home for humans. But getting there is a big challenge. One of the biggest challenges is the distance. Mars is about 225 million kilometers, or 140 million miles away from Earth. A round-trip mission would take around 18 to 30 months. That includes traveling to Mars, staying there, and coming back. Astronauts would need enough food and supplies for the entire mission. Plus, because Mars is so far, if there's an emergency, help from Earth would be delayed by several minutes. That makes everything more complicated. So, while the idea of living on Mars is exciting, there are still many challenges to overcome. If you enjoyed learning about Mars and its hidden water, first up is radiation exposure. In space, there are harmful cosmic rays and solar particles that can be dangerous to astronauts. On Earth, we're protected by our magnetic field, but Mars doesn't have this shield. That means astronauts would face more radiation, which could increase their risk of health problems like cancer. The second challenge is the harsh environment. Mars can get really cold, up to -125 degrees Celsius at night. During the summer days, it might only reach about 20 degrees. Plus, Mars has dust storms that can last for weeks, which can disrupt solar power and damage equipment. Keeping astronauts and their gear safe is a big task. Next, we have life support systems. To live on Mars, astronauts need reliable supplies of air, water, and food. Mars has a thin atmosphere with mostly carbon dioxide and very little oxygen. This means astronauts will need advanced systems to create oxygen, recycle water, and grow food, or they'll have to bring enough for the whole trip. Fourth is the challenge of health. Spending a long time in microgravity during the trip can weaken muscles and bones. Plus, Mars has only 38% of Earth's gravity, and we don't fully understand how that might affect our bodies. On top of that, being so far from Earth could cause stress and anxiety for astronauts. Keeping them healthy, both physically and mentally, is super important. Despite these challenges, the discovery of water on Mars is exciting. It adds a new chapter to our understanding of the planet and opens up possibilities for future exploration. Imagine tapping into that water one day. Before we wrap up, here's a quick update. Recently, China brought back a sample of lunar soil from the far side of the moon. They're working on missions that might lead them to set up a permanent base on the moon. How cool is that? That's all for today. We hope you enjoyed learning about the challenges of going to Mars and the exciting discoveries being made in space. If you liked this video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more space adventures. See you next time.